creatives, you kind of have to have like deadlines, but be boundary free.
Right. I think of it as white space. I need a certain amount of white space that I
like
can
that.
Grow in, that I can expand in, that I can explore in. I think learning is such a huge thing for me on my creative journey, and if I don't have time just to like experiment, that's where I get burnt out or a bit flat, I guess, as a creative.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Brandy Hofer, your host of the Color Me Happy podcast. I am so glad you're here. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. If you want more weekly content just like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Haven't you?
Yeah, no, I feel so passionate about that, about being like a multifaceted person, someone who doesn't limit myself to one stream. Just because I'm a photographer, I can't explore like dance or painting or
fall into that one label. So welcome, Brooke. Thank you for coming on. Happy to have you here. Brooke is a local photographer and like so much more, which we'll talk about. But I want to start with how you started in photography.
I think that my earliest memories with photography are my family doing self-timer photos when we'd be on trips. Like my parents were notorious for like prop the camera up on like a rock or a garbage can or whatever was there, and then like run like crazy and do the self-timer shot. I have 3 sisters. So I think photography is a bit in my family. Like both of my grandfathers were hobby photographers and I have their cameras. So it was kind of in the family. And then when digital cameras came out and it became more accessible, I just found myself drawn to it. I loved capturing the beauty of people and just really documenting the joy that was around me. So.
Yeah, so you love photographing people most of all?
Most of all.
Yeah. I hear that as a portrait artist.
Yes. Yeah, that I like
fascinating.
Landscape, but I love having a person in the landscape. Like, I guess landscape portraiture where a person is interacting with the environment is really beautiful to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mom also was super into photography, and I remember we entered a radio contest where if you stand by the landmarks of Saskatchewan, you were entered to win a digital camera. I forget, it must have been like, gosh,
Tourism Sask or?
No, it was like our local radio station. I'm just thinking back, like I was a teenager, like maybe 14. I don't know even what, I know it was CKSA then. I don't know. Anyways, it's not CKSA anymore. It was either that or the GOAT, and I don't know who was running it. Which is hilarious. But so on the way home from Wilkie, Saskatchewan, we stopped at we went to like the big grasshopper and the thing in cut knife and we just
hit them all.
We hit them all with not a digital camera because we had film cameras. Yeah. So anyway, I won. I got the call when I was sleeping, and they called in the morning, and I was a teenager, and they're like, "You've won that?" I was like, "Yeah," because it was probably between my mom and me. Who went and took
2 entries,
2 pictures at all of Saskatchewan, or at 5 or something, 5 Saskatchewan, who drove around Saskatchewan and tried to hit up the landmarks? Only us.
Well, congratulations.
But it was the worst, they were so bad when they came out.
Oh, yeah, the quality of them. I'm trying to think. My first memory of using a digital camera was driving to my grandparents in BC and taking pictures of the mountains through the windows.
Oh no!
And they were probably just blurry streaks. Yeah. At the time, they felt amazing. But I haven't looked back on them.
No, they're probably
very bad. Very bad. Cameras have come so far. It's insane.
Yeah.
I thank the Lord for my camera every time I use it, because it's such a dream to work with compared to what I started with.
Yeah. Did you ever dabble in film?
No, I haven't.
No?
So the cameras that I have from my grandfather are film cameras, but I just haven't made it a priority.
Let's get together and learn how to develop.
That would be
I did do it.
Cool.
I took a course in, they were offering it through Red Deer College, but not as a credited course.
Oh,
but just as hey, art students, if you want to learn about photography and development, come. And I still have the photos, and they're incredible. I took pictures of winter at night.
Wow.
So somehow I figured out, which
how
I
do you
don't even know
expose
how I did
properly
it.
and develop
I
that?
exposed, without a tripod, these like glittering
Wow.
snow, like hoarfrost photos, like at night.
Impressive.
Well, yeah, but I'll never be able to do it
To
again.
replicate it.
No, but I do want to. Developing super fun and cool. So let's do that together. So from there, did you go to school for photography?
No, so I studied business. So not business and
I think that's a
marketing.
better move.
I think the responsible part of me thought that was the way to go. I don't think I knew that there was even photography school. I thought about going to school for interior design, but I thought business is a little more practical, got a volleyball scholarship, and so went that route. And then it was when I had my first like full-time administration job that I started doing photography on the side. And
Yeah, you couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't hold out.
No.
Yeah.
Business jobs, like where you're stuck in an office, are really hard for creative minds.
No windows. It was a very social office, so I'm very grateful for that. And I lived in a small community where I had great friends, so there's lots of positives. But yeah, I
Killed your soul a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I remember being no window job, and I'm just like, I would get all my work done because I'm just like one of those people.
Yeah, you work
And
hard and you
yeah,
do tasks are.
right, but also like I want to do a million things at once,
Yeah.
but still can get the stuff done somehow. So I'd be like done, and I'm just like, I'm here and I'm stuck. Like, so I'd like make up jobs for myself.
For you.
Yeah, but like also, and they were great because they supported my creative career as well, and I did have that. But like, it is like, I'm glad you like realized. So how did you realize then like transition into?
Actually, I made a mistake at work that I thought I was going to get fired for, and it really sucked. And I was like, wow, like life has to go on if I don't have this job. And I worked for a nonprofit. I worked at Briarcrest, which is a Christian school that I'd gone to school at, so I loved the heart of the organization. Thought I would live there work there forever. I was in the fundraising department, writing fundraising proposals. Thought I would move into marketing, but then I realized like I could get fired and my life needs to go on. What is that going to look like? And I was like, well, my dream would be to do interior design and photography. And so that was when I started to open myself to the possibility of pursuing those things more as a career choice and less as just like on the side.
So for people who are like the point where we were in our lives, where we were like, I wanted to like step into creativity full time, what advice could you give them?
I think my advice would be to stay in your job while you build up your clientele and your revenue streams. I definitely tried jumping in too early to full-time photography, and it wasn't sustainable, so then I went back to day jobs. And
that's okay.
It has worked. Like I've had several different day jobs since then, and I've learned a little bit from each of them, and they've been different. Now I'm doing photography full-time again. But it's been very much a journey, and the first time was too much of a shock to the system. Like I couldn't be creative without steady revenue coming in, and so I'm all about that steady.
You can burn out.
Yeah, like I've heard you talk about Julie Cameron, and I think she says that it's hard to demand money from your creativity.
Or Elizabeth Gilbert.
Maybe I did get it from her.
Yes.
Yeah, I've read her book too. That's a really good one. So, having stability really helps me thrive in creativity. So.
Yeah, it takes the pressure away. Like even if it's like a part-time whatever, you know that you have, like I have thrived way harder since having the art academy, which is still an art job.
Right.
But it's also a job I love a lot. And it's a different way of creating. It's still a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's still 60 kids. Which is nuts.
That's intense.
So, like, 20, this year the group's 22, and like the other group's bigger. So it's like crazy. But like in a lot of them, like the we're getting a few more boy groups, which is great because it was
fun.
I think we only had one
Right.
the year before. Like it's awesome. So It's
Yep,
nice to see that thrive.
That will change the dynamic. That will change the dynamic a lot. Having
I have boys for kids.
Right.
I know, like, they just have energy, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So then you just, but yeah, they disrupt the class, which is fine.
Yeah.
They, like, you know, I'm just like, go run. We were working outside. I was like, run up the hill five times.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then come back, and then we're gonna do this, and you're on a timer for 7 minutes to get this one thing done. You know, like little tricks like that. Anyway, I find more joy because that is like, I know every month I get paid this from the school board.
Yes.
And school board, that's probably not what it's called.
Somewhere, some organization pays you.
Yeah, I get paid.
It's consistent and
for
reliable.
sure that hits my bank account. But all those school months, I know what's coming. And then for the months that I am not paid, like, I like hustle hard.
Yes.
You know, I'm like, I need to do murals, I need to sell more classes, I need to do an art sale or whatever.
Yes. Yeah,
and
exactly.
To make up for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a good thing to be like still hustling. And expanding all the time, but it takes the heat off. Like, I burnt out making art, and if you've listened to my podcast, you know, like, I made 130 pieces in 1 year, and I was so excited to be like selling art that I wasn't paying attention to the math or the burnout or my mental health, and that taught me a very big lesson. For sure. Like, and I'm very social. I can't be stuck in my studio. Well, I'm social. I like to be alone, but I'm social. So, like, 2 cups need to be filled all the time.
Hold them in tension.
Right.
The balance.
Yeah. And so, as listeners, you know yourself. So pay attention to, like, what's going on and reevaluate and do the math, which I teach in every class that I, like, every course, like, except for, I think, portrait class. Maybe I do. And do the math. It's so important. Like, do the math on, like, take an inventory of your life and your business and see what's working and what's not, and try to take some things away. But yeah, I'm at this, like, really good point where like I'm working, it's fun, I'm getting paid, and then I'm able to, like, you know, grow the rest of in whichever way I want, which I think, like, with creatives, you kind of have to have, like, deadlines, but be boundary free.
Right. I think of it as white space. I need a certain amount of white space that I can grow in, that I can expand in, that I can explore in. I think learning is such a huge thing for me on my creative journey, and if I don't have time just to, like, experiment, that's where I get burnt out or a bit flat, I guess, as a creative.
Yeah, I know. Jenny, my studio manager, said in our meeting this morning, she's like, you know, I always like to leave room for that 3 a.m. idea.
Love that. Yes.
Yeah. So we were like, coming up, we have a working title for our committee and our fest, and she's like, you know, just everyone will just give it time and space. And so it is like, leave room for those, like,
let it simmer.
Yeah, because you will have these, and I talk about in my book, and I have one podcast dedicated to Be Brave Days, and whenever I go on a podcast, I usually talk about, like, on other people's podcasts, because it's such a great tool, is the days, the line in my book says, when the birds are chirping and the sun is shining out your ass. Like, the days where you feel like a super person.
Right.
So then you go back to your checklists or whatever you've been wanting to do and reach out to that person and send that message, post to the thing, do as much, like, admin or, like, phone calls or whatever
the hard things
you can on your Be Brave Day, because guaranteed you won't feel that good tomorrow. And then by the time you, like, capitalize on those, your, like, heightened creative self, you kind of forget what you've asked for, and, like, 3 months later you'll be like, you can have the funding for, we think that project's an awesome idea, and you're like, I forgot that I did that. And because it was just like a big, like, it's just like a big load off of everything you've been putting off. And so really, really capitalizing on the Be Brave Days.
Do you do something specific to set yourself up for those Be Brave days? Like,
I do.
You have, like, calorie burn and like
no. I take care, like I'm a stickler for like routine.
Okay.
Like every morning, like I drink green tea with like mushroom cordyceps in it. Like only an eighth of a tea. Like I'm insane. Like I take care. I drink green juice. I go running. Or cycling.
You do your health routine.
I do
you
like
exercise. You fuel your
I cold
body.
plunge.
Yes.
Like every morning, I get up and also a chapter in book. The hardest part is getting dressed. So you just put on your stuff. Yeah. You commit. I'm committed. I'm in my gross exercise gear. I can't leave or do anything else because I'm like that gear stinks and I look terrible. And so it's either you're going running or you're working out downstairs or whatever you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And so I just get that done like first off because I feel like if I don't, it like clouds the rest of my day up.
Right.
And
clarity.
And all those things give me like super brain power.
Yeah.
And I go to bed super early because I have kids. And if I don't do those things, I don't drink. I love food. Like, so yeah, a lot of things like factor into, I try to have as many Be Brave days as well. I try to make every day a Be Brave day.
Cool.
Except those don't happen. That's not realistic.
Right.
Like hormonally have some really terrible days. And then I just try to rest. Even though events always seem to fall on those days.
Interesting.
I know. It's like, but you can't really control that one. So I show up anyway. But like a mural install, I'll be like, great. Right. Be bleeding the whole time. Cool. Or whatever. Not to get super graphic, but like it's just the way women are. So you just have to.
Yeah.
But this funny thing is, if you know yourself and you're paying attention to your body, for some reason, 10 days before my cycle, I have this ability to get up super early.
Oh, interesting.
Like an hour and a half or 2 hours before everyone else.
Right.
And like hammer out computer work. But only those 10 days leading up to there. I don't know if my mind's working overtime or what hormone boost I'm getting.
Sure, yeah, there would be something.
It's so weird. I try to do it after but then the after, I'm more social. I go and do the things and see people. Right. And then I know like I'll cycle back around to like being a little hobbit in my studio and be like,
yeah, you know? I've definitely heard Woman Code is a book that I've read, and she's all about cycle planning for your work, and she has a second book out, but I can't remember the name of it, but she definitely advocates for planning your work with your cycle.
It's just smart.
It is, and she kind of breaks down what is happening that's going to make you more social. She has certain days that she makes her decisions on that you're more decisive. Yeah.
Nice.
I have not like fully embraced it, but I'm aware it's a thing, and it's kind of like on my radar of things eventually I hope to incorporate into my work plan. But yeah, I think it is where you can. It's good to accommodate it.
For sure.
And I've been really lucky. I feel like mine has hit really well in the last year, where I'm like, thank goodness this was 3 days at home. So hopefully your season is coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Switch.
I know when people like cancel during those days, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I will just sit and feel sorry for myself.
I will receive that gift.
I will crush Parks and Rec by myself.
Yeah.
Maybe cry. I don't know.
Sometimes you need
I don't know about what Parks and Rec will make me cry ever, but Andy falling into the pit. No. Just kidding. Okay, so I want to know how being a full-time creative is going. How are you managing that schedule? Because it's got to be like kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, I am so grateful that it's going really well. It's going better than it has in the past. Usually I get down because I don't see people enough, and I don't have enough like structure or accountability set up for myself. This time I am in a wedding photography mastermind, and that has just been the best thing. Like accountability is so important to me. It really helps me succeed. So having that specific group that are all working on the same business has been really key. I've done a mastermind in the past that was for entrepreneur creative women, and it was helpful, but it wasn't as structured as I needed. Like this one is very, very practical in terms of like, send us your website. We are going to give you feedback. Like, what's your ideal client avatar? Like, where everyone's giving each other feedback. Is it clear enough? And everyone's working on the same things, so it's really constructive feedback, so that's been really huge.
Mastermind groups help me a lot too.
I'm so grateful. I wasn't looking for it. I thought I was going to be okay without it, and it just kept popping up on my Instagram, and I kept thinking, wow, like that looks like a good fit for me, and it's been a great fit. So super grateful.
Yeah, you have a good pod.
Yeah.
Shannon Amy, who I did a Diversify Your Income course with for creatives recently. Okay. She led a mastermind, and she pointed out before I burnt out that I was going to burn out, which is funny.
Isn't it incredible?
She's like, I'm so glad that you're like getting orders and making art, and because I was like, oh, I hate painting portraits. She's like, oh.
That's maybe an indicator that maybe
by the way, I love painting portraits.
Well, exactly.
But it was just what I was just like, I can't do this anymore. But I had been doing that. I was like going at that same steam for like 2 years. And she's like, is your business structure sustainable? And I was just like, whatever, Shannon.
Okay.
She knows this story.
Yes.
But she totally saw it. She's a business coach for creatives. Right. And like, we share our pie in our course, our pies for like 2 years of how we make our income. And we both it was funny because we both set our goals in that mastermind group for like, over 6 figures, and we both had our goals, and we both hit them at the same time. So it's really important to have that accountability, especially in your niche. You have groups with people who are going through the same things you are, or maybe someone's gone through it and they can give you advice.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. That's all I can say. So grateful.
Yeah,
and
really like for years you'll benefit.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's the thing. Like, if you want to learn something, like when people are like, I think I'll go back to school, and I'm like, oh, like it's probably like my brain like makes an audible sigh to myself.
Right.
Because I'm just like, there are so many resources for you to learn something more effectively and efficiency. I mean, I get it, like not a lot of people function the same way. Maybe I do for like tackling, like I'll do it, I'll start it, and then I'll learn along the way. Like maybe people don't want to do that.
Right.
So I get it, but like school is such a time commitment, money. Like you have to pause your life almost.
Right. Yeah.
Well, some people do. Heather, my friend, has like so many degrees. She just keeps and 3 kids in sports. I don't know. She's doing a practicum again right now.
Is she one of those people that doesn't need sleep?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like 5 hours a night.
I don't know what she does, but she's amazing.
Good work.
And she's doing great community work, so I'm grateful for her, and we're lucky to have her here. But and if that's for you, that's for you. But like when it's something you can learn off the internet or even YouTube.
Yeah.
You can YouTube a lot of skills.
YouTube rocks. Definitely started with YouTube. Then I moved to creator courses that were by photographers, and now doing masterminds. So it's
do not pause your life. I remember I had a mom. She's like, I think I'm gonna go back to nursing school or start doing this art thing on the side. I was like, or no, pause from nursing to go back to art school. That's what she said. That makes more sense.
Right.
She was my mentee, and I was like, don't do that. You can be an artist without going back to school.
Yeah, I agree. Like, my husband works in secondary education. I think there's a time and place for it. Really grateful for Lakeline College. But for me, education has always been a security blanket. And so I did my business degree, and then I got out of school and had a really hard time finding a job. And it was like, just because I graduated at the top of my class, like I worked my butt off. I was captain on a varsity sports team. It did not mean people were knocking down my door to hire me.
Yeah.
And so I did get a job, thankfully, by the grace of the Lord, and then I worked there. But when I thought about going back to school for interior design, I almost did, and then that door closed. And I almost did again, and that door closed. And I'm so thankful because just because you spend $20,000 or $40,000 or more and you dedicate years does not mean that you have the courage to make the phone calls, to pitch yourself, to get your portfolio where it needs to be. Like, there's just so many things that aren't a guarantee when you go to post-secondary.
Or you move back to your hometown where the jobs you could don't exist.
Yeah.
At all.
I just think you become a more empowered person when you go more of like a self discovery route like you do.
Yeah, because you're becoming that person along the way instead of just counting on this to get you somewhere, which it doesn't.
No.
Which I also encountered coming out of school. I was like, now I have my art degree.
Right.
And I'm an artist still.
Right.
Like, what is that? It's nothing. Pretty much nothing. Like, my degree meant nothing at all. And so then I was in hospitality for a long time, you know?
Yeah, my first job after college was serving.
Which is there's so many lessons in hospitality.
For sure.
And I think I'm glad for it. Still have some hospitality nightmares, but like glad for it.
I believe. Okay, give us one.
Oh my god,
Give us
no.
one.
Just like the pressure of, but like, you
just
know.
insane.
But by the end of it, I could memorize 25 people's order and then like bring it to the table in the right order.
Wow.
Without
I
it,
did not
no
get
iPads.
there. I did not get there.
No iPads.
No iPads.
No iPads
That's right.
then, because I'm old.
Right.
Now, like a notepad in order, and then you just
That's cool.
have a
I was
system
too
and-
anxious to get to 25 orders.
Yeah. No, it definitely could have blown up in my face. It did a lot. Anyway, yeah, but like it teaches you so much, and like I was pretty useless in that industry for like a year and a half, 2 years, until I figured out I could make money in that industry if I upped my game.
Oh,
So there's a lot of lessons in that.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
And we're still so young if we just go out of high school to university, like 20s, you just don't know anything.
No, there's lots to learn.
I'm looking forward to 40s. Like if I like slayed 30s, like 40s are going to bring on some great stuff.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
So, like I can't wait for the woman I will be.
Yeah.
It's only 2 years away. But like
hey, a lot happens in 2 years.
Yeah,
a lot
true.
can happen in 2 years.
True. So yeah, I like that it went from being like a sole independent person to like a community minded business person. The evolution of like what you can be and your why changes, like to like,
right,
you know, this is not just about me anymore at all. This is about like the youth, and this is about the like it has to be somewhat about you, or you know,
so it's sustainable.
So you don't burn out. Again, another way of burning out is just giving. But or doing it for free. But that's not fair to anyone. So you can, and you'll become stronger, wiser, and bigger by having good money mindset and being like deserving. Like I went through my 20s with very poor money mindset, like not feeling like I deserved or even could run or own my own business.
Right.
Like that was a lot to overcome. I don't know if that was a lot to overcome for you.
Yeah. Definitely a scarcity mindset of like, how could people possibly afford to pay for this? And just like expanding my mind of like what other people's cash flow are like and what people do prioritize. So that was a big roadblock for me that I've worked through. Also, just understanding the difference between the value of my work and the value of me as a person. Like, I'm invaluable as a person, but my work might not be worth what I want it to be worth until I up the ante, or I need to look at the market and see what everyone else is charging. So now I have really clear success factors for myself of if I do these things, I can sleep at night knowing it's reasonable and fair and actually generous what I did for these clients in exchange for what they paid me.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool.
Meeting that level.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
Finding
Like, this
that
is my
harmony.
bar. Yeah. And it's not based on how I feel that day. It's based on these are the amount of hours I do, this is the equipment that I have, these are the services I've offered, this is the time matter in which I deliver, and those things are worth this much in this market. And so having some concrete things has really helped me. But I love books, and I'm reading Profit First right now. So
I haven't read that
my
one.
mastermind recommended, and it's so good so far. Do you want to hear a little synopsis?
Yeah,
So our brains are crazy, love behavioral science. So it dives into behavioral science and how we can only focus on so many things. And in business school and in life, often people teach you revenue minus expenses equals your profit. And we can't really focus on the whole thing, so we just focus on revenue and expenses, and so we tend to say, oh, I have cash flow, well, I'll just come up with some more, I can get this expense and I can do that expense, and instead of like really focusing on, I want to create a business that is profitable, we can create money-eating monsters because we just fill up all of our revenues with expenses. And so he really focuses on your revenue and then like setting your revenue so that you can hit a certain profit that's important to you, and then the rest is what you have to figure out your expenses in so that you're more resourceful, more creative, more resilient with the money that you have, as opposed to just saying, well, oh, I can throw money at that.
Yeah.
And I totally believe that we live in an abundant world, and that there's lots, and I welcome lots of good things, but I also do want to be resourceful and creative and wise with the money I have when it comes to expenses.
Yeah, I love that. I read a book every morning about not just like, that's very in-depth and like keeping track of stuff and being very, very mindful. Mine's more like basically if you can see the life and like you focus on it and you go gratitude, like it's more like it's called The Science.
I think there's a place for that. That sounds awesome.
For sure. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
I'll write that one
Jen
down.
Sincero recommends it in her book, You're a Badass at Making Money. She said she read it. She kept it for like years, and she was like, whatever, Wattles. And he wrote it in the late 1800s. And it's still funny that it resonates today.
Yeah.
But I read it all the time because it's like just over 100 pages. You can read this much or like a page and get like tons, or like as
so
for me it's like a reminder.
Repeat.
People on my podcast are like, she always gets up to grab this book. I love it. See, I do read it. It's at my tea center. It's so good. I can like literally turn anywhere.
Oh yeah, it looks like she has like absorbed this beauty.
Receiving is a crucial point in the science of getting rich, right here, where thought and personal action must be combined. There are many people who consciously or unconsciously set the creative forces in action by the strength and persistence of their desires. However, they remain poor because they do not provide for the reception of the thing that they want when it comes. By thought, the thing you want is brought to you. By action, you receive it. So gratitude. But like, so I can just like, I always now, because like I don't read it, I stopped in the summer reading it cover to cover, and now I'm just like, this was meant for me today. Because I have like the good parts underlined.
Yeah.
So,
love that. It just folds open. Like, where she wants it.
Like magic. Anyway, I love Money Mind. I'm going to listen to that one. I always listen to them in the car when I'm driving.
Cool.
They're great because for me with self-doubt and like that whole like, do I deserve it thing, like always trickles in. So it's like a really great reminder that you can do more. It's self-worth, right? Yeah. Self-worth. And I'm definitely going to give yours a thing. And while you were saying you were talking about like margins and stuff like that. Like I always like, even if I can't afford something, I kind of say yes anyways if I want to do it, and then I figure out the way to make the money after.
And has that worked for you?
Every time.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
it's so weird.
I'm not saying everything.
Don't just put stuff blindly on your credit cards. Things that you were meant to like invest in yourself. Like, yes. I'm not saying I went like hundreds of that. I'm saying like I did a $10,000 thing. I did like 7. I did like 2 here and there.
Yeah. Like
once or twice a year, and it worked out. But I had a lot of other players in the game.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's not just like I have a lot of different ways I can make money. I have 8 income streams. So like
that's so
one
awesome.
of the 8
I love that.
perks up.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Like,
well, I think that there is value in using that as like a goal marker of like, I'm going to expand myself. I'm going to trust this is going to work out. I'm going to say like, this is what I'm working towards. And I think that has been valuable for me. But I've appreciated this perspective because I I just want to be wise, and that
You're
way
more
actually
logical than me.
I think my husband's more logical than me, so I am very open to risk. Like I'm like, if I quit my job, I'll figure it out. Like, and my husband Ben is a much more conservative, and so it's a little bit more of me wanting to be really kind to him. Just like, okay, I know that I'm gonna figure this out, but I don't want it to kill him. So how do I be proactive in a way that is safe for him and also exciting and expansive for me? And so trying to marry those.
Yeah.
Me and words.
Mine is always like, what are you doing now? Like,
yeah,
can't even keep up.
Oh,
like,
yeah, bless our husband.
Yeah, what? But like, goes along with it. So
yeah.
I mean,
and sometimes they see after.
Yeah,
like it's great.
Sometimes they don't see it, and you've got to show them. And I think the community, in terms of what we've done with like public art and such. So let's pivot to community work, because you have Life in Lloydminster. You started that page. I want to learn how and why you did it. But community work, like for that, like people, I've been proposing public art for over a decade. It's been traveling on desks for a long time before I just finally called Malcolm from the Health Foundation. I was like, can I paint that wall, please?
Wow.
And then he's like, I think it's about 60 feet. I don't know, I haven't been out there because they're building. I mean, the building. And so it was about, and Jill, I called Jill, that's how I got my first job. I had never muraled before, but I wasn't ready for a 3,000, by the way, it wasn't 60 feet, it was 132 and over 3,000 square feet. But my first mural was almost 50 feet and by 14 feet high, and it took me so long. It's not my son, everyone thinks that. It's Becky Lipke's son, and Kristen Hickman's photography. And I learned a lot. I wasted a lot of material and a lot of time, and learned a lot about pricing and value for myself and my time, etc. But it was still cool. It still is cool, and it's still there.
Oh, I have a fun story for you when you're done.
Okay. So it took me asking for a job, and then of course it took us 2 years to fundraise and like get the community. But now the community's like, and then we did a public garden, and they're seeing these things like actually for a very affordable budget, what we can do with these like pocket spaces. And we decided in our meeting this morning that we were calling it activating spaces in our community, in this positive way. So we should just, it's the subline. It's our committee for activating spaces. We don't know what we're calling it, but
beautiful.
It will be good, but people need to see it before they're like, oh, okay, I trust them enough they seem to know what they're doing or whatever. So even though I knew I could do it, doesn't mean other people like know it.
There's been a huge education process for you in our community.
Because I see it, I'm fed, my algorithm rocks. It is like, look what's in the world, that's awesome, and I'm like, let's do this here. And so funding is a big aspect, and asking for it and stuff like that as a process, and then, meeting with the right people and having the right people behind your vision and fighting for your values. Like Steph Monroe took the project over, and then that's when, because their CEO changed over from Malcolm to Steph, and then it just like, like it just flourished. Sorry, it didn't just happen.
We're actually diminish that.
And like we're working
like
on it still.
Sort of person that was ready to partner with you. And
she is, and there's more in the works. Just seed of a secret. There's more in the works.
So good.
Coming up, but I want to hear what inspired you, because it's you and Ben, your partner, to do this.
Well, so the story is our very first date was doing a mural tour downtown. Our very first date. So that's really special. So before I knew Brandy, saw her murals, So we have very different stories. Ben grew up in Ontario. He moved to BC for work and then moved to Lloyd. So I always say he lived in the land of milk and honey in Kelowna. Like, he just loved Kelowna, and now he's here. And there's a lot of great things, but there's things he really misses about Kelowna. And
For sure.
I grew up in southern Saskatchewan and moved here and just love Lloyd. Like, it's the big city. There's all these amenities. Like, it's green and lush. Like, there's these restaurants that are incredible. Like,
Sorry, I love Lloyd too, but I grew up here and like,
that's not how most people see it.
no.
And I moved here, and I just said, like, oh, I moved to Lloyd because I love it. And people were like, sorry, what? Why did you move here?
Yeah.
And so
It's a great community. But like, my reaction was a little, but I grew up here, but it's a great community.
I think your reaction is very typical of people in this community. And
Yeah.
so Ben is really, he's very much like a city planning nerd. He loves policy for city development. And he is so passionate about making his community better, and I just already think this community is great. And so we've teamed up to do a social media account. We call it Life in Lloyd, and we just share our experiences here and things that are going on, because we really believe you love where you live when you choose to love where you live. And I've found this community to be a very welcoming place to get involved, this opportunity to be with Brandy on her podcast, to get involved in different community things. There's opportunities, and I feel like as a creative, people aren't saying like, oh no, you're like, we've already got people to do that. They're like, sure, that'd be great. Like,
It's cool.
if you want to do it, go for
together.
it.
Yeah.
So I've just found it a very welcoming place, and so we share. I don't know. We just have fun together and share what's going on, and we really try to keep a tabs on what other people are doing and then share it on our page, so that people have one place to come and know, like, these are the events that are happening on a weekend, these are the programs I can get my kids in, different things like that. And then we filter in a little bit of education on, like, here's how walking can help your mental health, here's how we can design our streets so that they're a joy to walk down, here's why street trees actually matter, stuff like that.
I like that.
So Ben is super passionate about that, and we need to keep working on putting that out in ways that's easy for people to digest it, and it not be too academic talk. So yeah, it's one of the goals.
Yeah.
Just to educate people. Like, I grew up in southern Saskatchewan. We never walked because we lived out of town. We had 4 vehicles, and we drove to practice and back, and I thought you walked if you were poor and you didn't have a car. And so I just, like, I would never walk because I just thought, like, why would I do that? And Ben's family, like, they walk to the grocery store, they walk to church, like, they're intentional to create it in their life because it makes them happier, better mental health. And so I've learned that from Ben's family. I spent the last 2 years walking every day to my job, more or less, unless Ben dropped me off in the morning, but I'd walk at lunch and after work, and it made my life so much better. It's such an important part of my mental health routine. And we intentionally bought our house in a location where we knew we could walk to almost everything we needed. And it's been a great choice for us. So.
Oh, good for you. I like that. I think there was a lot of advice in that one statement about community and living your very best life, like, every day. It's actually, quite simple. It's quite simple to live a very good, happy life with a few, it's not simple. It's with a few easy things, you can live a very good life. Like, so at the end of every podcast, I ask, it's sponsored by Red Bicycle Communications, what would the ideal perfect day look like? And I can't wait to hear yours. But everyone's is very, like, it's not a complex answer.
Right.
Like, it includes,
It's little things.
Yeah, it includes, like, sometimes some good food.
Yeah.
But mostly spending time with loved ones,
Yeah.
and then also quiet time to yourself,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Especially people with kids are like, I would first be by myself, and then so I want to hear about, and like, no one's like, I'm going off to Vegas to, like, not one like, everyone has described, like, I went on a walk and I sat on the beach, I read a book, like, it is, and I worked a little bit. A lot of people say I worked a little bit, which is really interesting. So I love what you said in that statement because it's so true. When we get really down, like to the what is making us happy, and you can, it's like you're allowed to go on a walk.
Right?
Yeah. You have permission,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Totally.
Yeah. So describe today your ideal perfect day.
My ideal day. Fresh flowers are like my ultimate like joy, luxury thing. So it would be curating is one of my favorite parts of doing photography, picking out my favorite images that tell a story and blogging them. Would be my favorite aspect of work for the day, and then having some fresh flowers, maybe arranging them myself, and then hosting some friends for dinner, sitting outside under my patio lights and just having really good conversations. So.
Oh, nice.
And not cooking. I'm all about the takeout when I host people.
Yeah.
So we will support a local restaurant while we chill with great people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for you. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Brandy. It was so great to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Just so inspired by you and what you do in our community. So keep up the good work.
Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on Instagram at Brandy Hofer Studios anytime. I'm happy to chat. That's where I sit. And I'm so glad you're here, and I cannot wait for you to dive in. So give us a like and subscribe, and check the rest of our channel out. If you want to feel empowered and inspired, like and subscribe for more. And if you want to get creative, check out all our art hacks on this channel.